Hello, this could be quite a convoluted video, but stick with me. It's about growing tomatoes here at homegrown veg in my greenhouse and the disaster that's unfolded this year. But we need to go back to the beginning of the year to find out where this disaster emanated from. I've already put a video up showing you my tomatoes and what a disaster they are. And when I put that video up, I think I pinned the blame firmly and squarely on the shoulders of the United Kingdom weather this summer. We have had a poor summer. We're just heading into our third summer month, and if we'd had a week of sunshine over the last 2 months, I'd be very surprised. Summer has been a disaster for me here at Homegrown Veg in the United Kingdom. And so that's where I thought the blame lay for the disastrous tomatoes that I was growing this year. But what I've found out since then is that people who I've given tomato plants to locally are having a good season. They're having a successful season. It's only me that isn't. Now, from the last video that I posted, I know lots of you are having trouble with your tomatoes, but others are having a good year. The people local to me have the same weather as me, and they're having a successful year. I'm not. Can't be the weather then, can it? Can't be. I can't blame it on the weather. So, we go back to the beginning of the year and where my demise set in. I got my hands on some wood chip and forest bark. I got some wood chip and forest bark and I brought it home, and my intention was, because it was fairly fresh, I wasn't going to incorporate it into anything. I was going to use it as a mulch, as a top dressing, and it was going on my onion bed. So I put the bag in the garden, and there was another couple of months before I was ready to use it on the onion bed. In that space of time, Meg found it. Meg's the black Cocker Spaniel, working cocker. And every now and again I was finding a piece of wood chip in the living room, in the kitchen. Meg had brought it in. The renowned for this, wanting to give you gifts, wanting to give you presents, these Cocker Spaniels. So I'd pick it up and throw it down the garden. Ha, you've guessed it. Meg shoots down the garden, picks it up and brings it back. So I couldn't get shot at this piece of wood chip, so I then put it in the bin. Well, it wasn't long, but there was another piece of wood chip brought in. Another gift, another present from Meg. So I'd throw it down the garden, it would be brought back in, I'd put it in the bin, Meg would be out and do it again. So this was going on for days, and I thought, I've got to move this wood chip, but I can't broadcast it on a raised bed because it'll make it even more accessible for Meg. And if there are onions grown in there, she'll probably just pile into the bed. So I put it out of the way, closed the bag up, I put it out of the way, and I was trying to think of ways I could use this. And it came around at that time of year when I was going to move my tomatoes up from being indoors in yogurt pots to being outdoors in bags in my greenhouse. And I was going to mix up the medium that I was growing them in. And it would have been largely garden soil and soil from molehills, and probably a slack handful of fertiliser popped in there. But I thought, well, why don't I incorporate this wood chip into the mix? that would get it used, that would get it out of Meg's way. Sounded like a good idea. Oh, and by the way, at the same time, I had a bag of Coir. And I thought, why don't I put some of that Coir in the mix as well? So we went with garden soil, soil from molehills, Coir and wood chip. And that was the mix that I moved the tomatoes up into. And ever since then, they've gone backwards. It's got to be that mix. It's got to be. Can't blame it on the weather. The only thing I can think of now is that mix, because I certainly didn't overwater them, I certainly didn't underwater them, and I certainly didn't overfeed them. It's got to be that mix. So you check this out. I forgot I had this. It's a soil meter. This will measure the pH of the soil in those bags. Yeah, my soil meter. I've used this and I've got some figures I want to share with you and some video I want to share with you. So you'll be pleased to hear that I'm going to be quiet for a while. But this is a soil meter. It will measure the pH. Now, I've looked at best pH for vegetables on the internet, and it's generally between 6 and 7 on the scale, on the pH scale. 6 and 7. 7 being neutral, above 7 being alkaline, below 7 being acidic. Slightly below 7, slightly acidic, slightly above 7, slightly alkaline. A long way below 7, very acidic, a long way above 7, very alkaline. But the charts tell me I should be growing between 6 and 7. You may find a little discrepancy in some of the charts, but that's about it, between 6 and 7. So let me show you the first 7 tests that I did on individual bags with this meter. Let me show you those tests, then come back to me. Wow! Blimey! This meter only reads down to 3.5. Anything below that it won't register. Anything below that I'm off scale. So what did we get? We got a less than 3.5, a 4.5, a less than 3.5, a 4, a less than 3.5, a less than 3.5, and another less than 3.5. Most of these readings were off scale. What I'm growing in is so acidic, this meter can't measure it. No wonder those tomatoes are not growing. I've seen them off, I've killed them. From the day they were moved up into those bags, those tomato plants were doomed. They were doomed, and there is no way back. There is no way back. 2 of our summer months are behind us now. There's nothing I can do about this other than suck it up. Gardener error, suck it up. But we will finish on a high note. I'm determined of that. This video will finish on a high note. Right, I'll show you the other 7. So that was 7 plants down one side of the greenhouse. Now let's have a look at the other 7. They were just as bad, but they would be, wouldn't they? I'd made this mix in a barrow. I'd used the same mix in every bag. Bound to be. Just the same as the first 7 readings. Bound to be. Weren't they? And more readings off scale. I mean, the acidity in that mix is unbelievable. I don't think anything can grow in it. Tomatoes certainly can't. I've proved that. But if you look in the charts of best pH for vegetables, I don't think there's a vegetable could tolerate it. Certainly wouldn't flourish, would struggle to grow. But we're going to finish on a high note. I promised you we would. We're going to finish on a high note. Tomatoes this year, cucumbers, we've written them off. We've written them off. Nothing we can do. But next year, we will not make the same mistake twice. God willing, we'll have a good harvest next year. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Hope you've enjoyed the video. This is Homegrown Veg, signing out.